Hi all, this is Karthik. You're watching Chasing Dreams Season 8 and episode number 2. So yesterday you guys would have enjoyed watching Naval Arasan's journey towards his success and his dream. So today you are going to see a different personality and I have been taking a lot of interviews of mountaineers. So you would know what to expect out of this. So this one is going to be a little bit different from what I have done before. So hopefully you guys enjoy it, and thanks a lot for everybody who's been watching the show and supporting constantly. As well as in today's episode, it's going to be more adventure stories to talk. And in the meantime, if you have any questions to ask to Samir with regards to mountaineering, please do post it and we will get it answered. Yes, we will invite our guest right away. Yes, hi Samir.
Hi Karthik, really,
How are
really
you?
nice to see you face to face.
Yes, exactly. And thanks a lot for coming onto the show. It's an honor and pleasure to have you.
My pleasure, Karthik. Absolutely my pleasure.
Thank you. Then how are you doing and how is quarantine? You can't go to the mountains right now.
That's actually interesting because I just realized in the last 10 years, this is the first time I've spent in the city for the longest period of time. Otherwise, usually every year, either we're in Nepal or we're in Africa climbing Kilimanjaro. So this is really interesting break for me also.
Yes, yes, to look back what you have done, and I think you have inspired a lot of people out there, and you have also inspired me in a way. Like I also wanted to do mountaineering and get to know about adventure. I have seen you doing and scaling mountains. The journey is splendid, and yes, yes, that's why you are right here right now. And
No, it's fantastic, Karthik, because I must commend you. I remember many, many months ago, you and me had a very brief conversation where you
yes,
actually called up to ask about
exactly.
how Everest is. And I think we ended up speaking for quite some time, and you were
Yes,
very detailed in the entire conversation. And of course, I think every
thank
mountaineer's
you.
dream is to look at climbing Everest. And from that time till now, though you've been restricted in terms of your movement, the kind of people that you've engaged on Instagram and the kind of live sessions you've done, not just with mountaineers, but people from different walks of life, I think that's really commendable. I really,
Thank you, thank you,
really
thank you.
commend you on that. I know it's a lot of hard work, and frankly, I should be saluting you. Really good job.
Oh no, it's a big word actually. I'm just trying to put out few things out there so that the people are aware, and I thought it's the right time. It's so. I'm so happy that you put forward this, and like I think I must work even more harder towards it. And yes, many people are pumped up to know your journey, and and obviously you submitted Everest to tell about Samir. He has submitted Everest. He's a mountaineer, and also he's a public speaker. He talks about what can adventure bring a difference in your life, and also he's an entrepreneur, and he's a founder of Adventure Pulse, and lots more. So we will share all these in the upcoming sessions. So please stay tuned, and if you have any questions to ask, please do post it, and we will get it answered. Yes. So first question is, so how into adventure field?
That's actually a really good question, honestly. Most people, when they get into mountaineering, think, either you're born a mountaineer or you're not born a mountaineer. But
Yes.
it's interesting because I think one of the reasons why I'm called to talk in a lot of companies is because 11 years back, I was also doing a normal corporate job. At that time, I was working for a small little IT company. You may have heard of it, Infosys.
Yes. It's small. It's
And
huge.
yeah, so I mean, I was working for Infosys as an HR manager,
Okay.
and I was doing the usual thing, waking up in the morning, going to office, spending 14 hours, coming back, sleeping, going there again. And it just so happened that my friend from college, both of us were doing our MBA. So Suraj, he called me up and he said, "Listen, do you want to go for a holiday?" And I said, yeah, I need a
Uh,
break. This life is
okay.
very tough. And, instead of the usual Goa trip or Thailand trip, he said, yeah, let's go to Nepal. Let's go climb a mountain in Nepal.
Awesome.
So we had nothing. I mean, we had some basic experience, borrowed a rucksack from somebody, used my dad's old jacket, and went to the
Uh,
mountains, and it was horrible. It was really, really difficult. I didn't have any mountaineering experience at that point in time. And he had done his basic course from Nehru Institute of Mountaineering, and we'll talk about that later.
yes, yes.
But at least he knew what he was doing. Fat from the corporate world, struggling, huffing and puffing, climbing up the mountain. I used to smoke also at that time. And as I said, it was horrible. But we climbed this beautiful mountain called Mira Peak at 6,500
Oh
meters.
my God. Yes.
And it was a fantastic experience. And while standing on that peak, obviously, I cried and I was very emotional. And then I turned around, and just when I thought I was really high, I looked behind me and you could see Everest. And when I saw Everest, I fell in love. And
Love at first
that
sight.
experience, first sight of
Yes.
Everest, and that experience, you can't even begin to compare it. I came back from the mountains, try to continue with that corporate job. And I was like, boss, this is not going to happen. And the thing was this, if an ordinary fat corporate guy like me could have this amazing experience, something you only see on Discovery Channel,
Yes. Yes.
uh, I'm sure there are other people around there who also want to have the same experience, a board of that Kesari Travels trip or that SOTC trip and want to do an adventure. And everybody's watched Bear Grylls on TV.
Yeah.
So, so that's how it happened. And that's when we decided, okay, let's start our own adventure company. And that's really how the entire story began.
So a mountain called Mira Peak has changed your life upside down, right? So that's the power of
Right.
being outdoors and understanding what we wanted for ourselves. And yes, it's actually when we hear it, it looks like a cakewalk, but it isn't. We know for sure how demanding and challenging is climbing Mira Peak at first, and also shifting from a career in corporate to an adventure field. So let's talk about in this aspect. So what was your family background and what did they tell when you thought of, okay, I'm going to do adventure sport? I don't think so. It's going to happen overnight at home. So how was the scenes and how are you financially stable to come into this field?
Okay, so I think that way I've been very blessed because my father is from the Indian Navy, which is
Okay.
very similar to the Indian Army. It's a government service. So we didn't grow up with a lot of money. As a government service person, you don't have that kind of finances, but you have a lot of facilities. So,
Hmm.
during the summers, we would be sent for a trek. You have access to horse riding, you have access to swimming and sailing. So those were
Okay.
huge benefits that I got to leverage as a child. So it wasn't an ordinary childhood. And I think that in itself kind of established the foundation of that spirit of adventure. Uh, Obviously, you somewhere along the way forget that and you say, okay, career dekhna chahiye. So I obviously did an MBA and said, ठीक है, then I'll get a
Okay.
corporate job. And when I was working with Infosys, my dad was extremely happy. He was like, ठीक है, now I can take a name of a company that my friends will also know. But then we had this entire idea of starting our own adventure company. So I remember I took a flight, went, met my parents, sat them down and said, Dad, I want to leave my job and start on
Uh,
this. And, he was really shocked. He was very, very surprised. Uh, Angry also is the right word to
yes.
use.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, do you want to become a tour guide?"
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, fortunately for me, my mother has worked in the adventure travel industry. She used to
Okay.
work for river rafting company in Rishikesh, Shivpuri as early as 1991, 92. So There's a company called Snow Leopard Adventures. It's a very big
Yes.
river rafting company. So, she knew this industry really well. And she was supportive. She said, listen, worst case scenario, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year down the line, it doesn't work out, he quits. He's got a good education, he's got a good corporate experience. He can always go back to the corporate world. So at least hear him out. So
Okay.
anyway, my dad cooled down and calmed down. Then he said, okay, how much money do you need for this venture? So then I did one entire filmy dialogue and I said, Dad,
Yeah.
I don't need your money. All I need is your blessing.
Uh,
And the moment
I
I said
hope you
that, obviously,
succeeded. I hope
yeah,
you
so,
also did.
when I said that, then he was willing to listen. So, yes, 2020, 10 years down the line, Adventure Pulse is still running. We haven't declared bankruptcy. But honestly, for me, the moment of success was that, so 2010 is when we started our company. In 2014, after my dad retired from the Navy, he decided to come for a trip with me. And I took him for a trek to the Everest base camp. And for me, that was a moment of success when I could share this experience with my father. And together, both of us trekked all the way to the Everest base camp, stood there, took a picture, and came back. So that
That's
for me was the moment where I would define it as a success.
exactly, and when you spoke about this, I think many people could also relate it with you, and they will also be in a boat as in, might this happen? This it would be good if this happens when they hear your story. That's what I can relate it right now. And also, can you just start off talking about Adventure Pulse? When was this began? As you told, you and your friend started, right? So
Yeah.
when what were the struggles at first, and could you able to break the wall, or like how would
Okay, so first, of course, as you correctly pointed out, was good family tradition. Okay, I mean, my dad's side of the family and me, we are South Indians, right? And South Indians typically you study hard, either you're an engineer or doctor, you get your America green
yes.
card, visa, and go abroad. I'm probably going to get into a lot of trouble for saying that, because, but I'm also a South Indian, so I can completely say that and relate. And all my family, either doctors, engineers, and are in US. So I'm the black sheep of the family. So first is breaking that family stereotype. The second was that 10 years ago, the adventure travel industry was very different. It's not like it is today, where you have so many people excited about it. You have stars like Arjun Vajpayee, Krishna Patil. There's Kuntal Joysher. There's so many current young adventure mountain climbers. But 10 years ago, the concept of going for a trek was, what, you want me to carry my own bag, climb a mountain, and I have to pay for it also? What is wrong with you?
Yes.
So it was difficult. But slowly and steadily, we started changing. In fact, the first time we took people for a trek was in 2010. And after 6 months, we realized, oops, the season was over. So how do we make money? So what are we going to do? And that's when we decided to start evolving, saying that, okay, we are good at adventure, but we also have a corporate background. Why don't we do outdoor training for corporate companies? So we started doing a lot of team building games and team development. And that's how we were able to create this balance. So we do adventure and we also do corporate outdoor sessions. And it was literally going from 1 year to the next year to the next year. 2010, if you remember, there was a recession also going down.
Yes.
So people were looking for jobs, and here we were quitting jobs and trying to start our own adventure company. So it was
It's a
tough. I
big
mean, it was
move.
definitely tough. And I think the thing that people forget the most is that when you start your own venture, they're like, wow, yaar, you're climbing mountains, that's really great. But the reality is that, you don't have a Saturday, Sunday off. You're working 24/7. You're trying to survive, at the end of the month, where all my friends were waiting for their salary so that they could go and party and spend money. You're scared because at the end of the month, you have to start paying people,
Yes.
vendors, taxes, salaries, and we didn't know
Yes.
anything about running a company. I remember in the first year, I didn't even draw any salary. and we declared a profit, and I had to pay income tax also on that. So,
Oh, it's hard
so
actually when you say it's
uh,
hard. Yes, and
yeah.
also we spoke about in this aspect, and while adding up to Adventure Pulse, right now they also offer courses for junior mountaineers. They are doing a fantastic job online. They are making people aware of what mountaineering is about, and also talks about what exercises and physical activities that they can get into. So I love the initiative, and please do continue to do it. And hopefully, if people who are watching this video in the live or after the live, please do go and go to the website, and you can know more details about it. And career guidance is for sure granted there. They'll guide you in a proper way on what to do exactly. So yes, so let's go to another session. It's called the photo session. We'll take you through a photo journey. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, yes,
Fantastic.
ready, backpacks
Yeah.
packed, and ready to hike.
Yeah.
So the first picture, I think it will blow you a bit. Where is the picture? Yes.
Well, this is standing on top of the world on the 18th of May 2018 at 6:15
Oh
a.m.
my God.
Wow.
Yes. It's like imprinted in your heart, right?
Yeah, it is, Karthik. You know, it's interesting. We get asked this question, what did it feel like when you stood on top of Everest? Um, it's interesting because I think I didn't know, I didn't have the words to describe it, but somebody asked Soraj this question, and he said that it was the most humbling experience of his life, and that's absolutely true. You know, it took us 3 attempts to climb Everest and almost 4 years. What started off as a 6 month plan and expedition took us 4 years to finally climb Everest. And you know, at the end of it, we were just so grateful and humbled at the opportunity to be standing there. We didn't feel like, oh, you know, I'm so great, I'm a conqueror. It wasn't that. It was just that thank God for giving us this chance.
Yes, when we do it, we will understand what it's like. It's not about conquering and stuff. It's like, oh my God, the nature has allowed us to do so, right? That's the feeling
Yeah,
over there. And also, this was taken in 2015, right? And you
that's
had an
right. Yeah,
earthquake. So can you just
that's right.
explain when you were there in Everest in 2015?
So the thing is this, that in 2015, again, you know, like Karthik, even when you decide to climb
Yes,
Everest, it's a long process, you know. The cost of Everest is quite prohibitive. So you start figuring out whether you're getting sponsors, friends, family, how are you going to get that money? Just for your viewers, it
yes,
costs approximately about 30 lakh rupees for one person to attempt Everest. This is an average price, equipment and everything put together. So you start this process and you really work very, very hard because we don't have that kind of money, you know.
yeah.
So you try getting this money together and then finally you reach there. And when you reach there, you're like, oh, great, you know, I just need to work hard. I need to get through the various tough parts of Everest, and maybe in 1 month's time, I'll be standing on top of the world. This picture is taken in the Khumbu ice fall. This is a picture that I took of Swaraj practicing on the ladders. And the Khumbu ice fall, the glacier of Everest, is the most bizarre, awesome, scary experience of any mountaineer
Oh,
in any mountain. I
okay.
mean, imagine you're walking through these ice blocks and you can actually hear the ice creaking and shifting around
My
you.
God.
It's amazing. And this ladder moves in every direction. It's very unstable. So in fact, you can't even put your foot flat on the ladder. You've got these spikes, these crampons you're wearing. So two crampons on one rung and two crampons on the back rung. So you're literally balanced on four spikes. And so anyway, we crossed this Khumbu ice fall. We reached from Everest Base Camp, which is at 5,400 meters, and reached Camp 1, which is just touching 6,000 meters. And then we came back down and we were like, okay, great, you know, this wasn't so bad. We survived that.
Uh,
We will see how we will go forward. And we thought that honestly was the toughest part of it. Uh, I don't know whether some of your viewers remember, but on 25th of April 2015, the entire country of Nepal was shaken by a huge earthquake. This earthquake was literally, I think it was about 7.8, 7.9 on the Richter scale. The entire country was devastated. Not too many people know that the same earthquake triggered off an avalanche which literally buried the entire Everest base camp. A lot of people were injured, some 70, 80 people were injured, and even 22 people lost their lives. It just
Yes.
so happened that we were at Everest Base Camp during that time. In fact,
Oh.
we just come back down from Camp 1.
So what did the exact scene happen? And also to talk about in this aspect, you have invested a lot of money and you have been there, and the expedition is cancelled and a lot of chaos happening. And did you think at that point, I'll go the next time, I will raise all the funds and then I'll
No,
start?
man. Honestly, see, what had happened was that just the year before that, in 2015, within the Khumbu Glacier, in the Khumbu Icefall, there was an avalanche that had actually fallen and killed 16 Sherpas. So
Okay.
the previous year, there was an avalanche that cancelled the entire Everest expedition, and we had come back in 2015. So there were one or two climbers there at that time. Kuntal Joysher was also there. We were talking to him. And he was like, yeah, last year there was an avalanche and we had to call off the expedition. Now, you don't think lightning is going to strike twice in the same place,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So the last thing we thought was, okay, there's going to be an avalanche. In fact, you won't believe it. We were sitting in our dining tent, we just come back, we were tired. So the entire team was together. We were watching a picture on Sauraj's laptop because that's how
Okay.
you get the team to bond and de-stress. And suddenly we heard the ground shaking below us. At first, I personally thought it was the glacier because sometimes the glacier shifts in the night. But it was like really shaking, like you couldn't even stand up, you were falling down. And one of the Nepali boys suddenly shouted, Bhukam, which is the
Okay.
same word we use in Hindi to describe an earthquake. So we just immediately ran
Oh.
out, and we were standing at the base of the biggest mountain in the world. So imagine you're staring at Everest and looking in Everest, wondering what's going to happen. And suddenly we heard this huge explosion like a bomb from behind us. And when we turned around, there was this massive wave, literally like a tsunami, that came rolling down full of snow, ice, and debris. And we realized that this thing is going to hit us. So really in our panic, we just quickly just jumped into something we thought it was safe. So imagine you have 100,000 tons of snow and ice coming towards you,
Yo.
and you jump into a tent which is made out of cloth.
Uh,
Um, I was very lucky because the Sherpa who was climbing with us, Tashi Sherpa, he's climbed Everest 10 times. So he just grabbed me by my neck and pulled me under the dining table. And we were hiding there like this. And then the avalanche hit. And when it hit, it just buried us, collapsed the tent on us. It really felt like as if somebody hit me in the chest. You
oh.
can't breathe because there's snow going into your mouth, it's going into your nose. You can't see, it's completely pitch dark. And you're thinking, oh God, I'm going to die. That's the only thought you have. You're not thinking, oh, this is great, what an experience, and all that. You're just thinking, oh
Yeah.
God, I'm going to die. Fortunately, that didn't happen. After about 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, that sound of thunder stopped. We started digging ourselves out. Tashi was like, everybody okay? Okay, Sam, okay? And then when we came out, suddenly it was very bright. And we looked around, and all those tents, it was all destroyed. It looked like a scene from an air crash. There was just
Yes,
nothing
yes.
left.
Oh, it's an experience that actually, when we hear it, we could relate how scary it is. And experiencing all these, and you made it on top of the summit on 2017, right?
This is 2018. This is three
Okay.
years after that experience.
Uh, that's amazing, and you'll go to the next picture. I actually made you to talk about these incidents because people got to know what's behind and what's happening behind, and if an expedition doesn't go right, there are a lot of things that happens behind, and this is one of it,
True.
and people would be aware of exactly what is happening. And the next picture is
This is Mount Kilimanjaro. In fact, this pictures from last year. In fact, Karthik, this is really brilliant, fantastic collection of pictures. So when we started up Adventure Pulse, we believed that adventure should not be restricted to hardcore mountaineers. Like I told you, I was a corporate guy,
yes,
right? But having said that, the problem is that a lot of people are scared to go and have a trek or climb a mountain because they don't know how to do it. So we felt that we should be able to guide them. That's why we call ourselves the adventure management consultants, because we will guide you. Even if you're interested and you're not willing to pay us, that's okay. We want to tell you about it. We want to talk to you about it. So it just so happened that one of the boys who was following our entire experience was this really young boy called Advait, who was possibly the age, I think, of 6 or 7. And at that time, I took him and his mum at the age of 7 years old all the way to Everest Base Camp. Now, they had a
okay,
fantastic experience, of course, and I've been spending a lot of time with him, coaching him and guiding him. And last year, he said, okay, we want to go climb Kilimanjaro. So this picture is from Kilimanjaro. In fact, we took him up to the top of Kilimanjaro. And then I came back down, and then there was another group also. So I ended up climbing Kilimanjaro
nice.
back to back in a period of, I think, 10 or 11 days.
Oh,
And it was a great experience.
yes, 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 yes. And I hope the boy who came along with you would be so proud, and he would had a very good time, right? Standing on top of
Yeah,
yes, you made it possible happen, and I think your contribution was important and key for that young mountaineer, and
yeah,
hopefully he does a lot of expeditions with you in the future.
yeah, we're hoping so.
Yes, so next picture is
Oh, wow. Okay, this picture was taken in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And this is on the top of Mount Elbrus, the highest mountain of Europe. It's interesting because a lot of the collection of these pictures are of mountains which belong to this very exclusive club. It's called the Seven Summits Club. So for your viewers, there are 7 continents in the world, and the highest point of each of these continents together become the 7 summits of the world. So there are these very exclusive group of mountaineers who have actually climbed all of these 7 summits. So, of course, in Asia it is Everest, in Africa it's Kilimanjaro, and this pictures of Mount Elbrus, which is the highest mountain of Europe. A lot of people think it's Jungfrau in Switzerland or Mont Blanc in France, but
okay.
actually the highest peak of Europe is Mount Elbrus, though it's located in Russia. It's part of the Caucasus Range, which is part of Georgia, and Georgia is part of East Europe. So technically, yeah, that's the background of this picture.
Yeah. So how was it standing on top of, maybe not the question of Everest? How was the moment sharing with Sauraj? He has
Well,
been with
so
you for a long time, and all pictures without him, I don't see a picture of you except this Kilimanjaro.
yeah, I know my wife also has the same complaint.
You go to talks together, and
So I think it's good to have a climbing buddy, a climbing partner, because mountaineering should not be a solo sport. It's never about one person standing on top of the mountain. It's always about an entire team making it happen. And I think I've been very lucky and very blessed that I have found a friend like Sauraj, where we can complement each other, support each other, guide each other, help each other on the mountain. And that makes a huge difference. I think that way I am always know that I am safe in the mountains when he is around, because he will make sure, I mean, he may take risk for himself, but he will not put my life at risk. And similarly, I will take a risk for my own life, but I will think 10 times before I put his life at risk. And that
right.
way we make sure that we are very, very safe. And the good thing is, because we run Adventure Pulse together, that same care on safety for anything we do, whether it's treks or mountains, we make sure that we keep that in mind when we are taking people to the mountains as well.
Yes, yes, beautifully said. And the next picture is,
Um, this is a picture of Chris Shrikant. Uh, it's amazing how you have guardian angels in any form and every form. So Sauraj and I are two ordinary guys. We started as people who were working in the corporate world, and then we took this jump and we decided that we wanted to try this. And in 2015, when we wanted to climb Everest, we had a lot of support from family, friends. They gave us money to help climb the mountain. But when the avalanche happened, uh, we were very, very disappointed when we came back. We were thinking, oh God, we've taken money from friends. With
yes.
what face will we look at them and all that?
Oh, yes.
And then it just so happened that Sir Chris Shrikant was following our story and he wanted to meet us. And then when he met us, he said, I've followed your you helped with the Indian Army in the rescue and relief. You did a great job. I am very proud of you. We are very proud of you. Don't feel disappointed. Don't give up. There's so many times where in the locker room, I have spoken to the boys after a match. And when he said the boys, he was talking about Virat Kohli, Yuvraj Singh. And that's the caliber of people that he's interacted. We said, you think they're not disappointed? They're also disappointed. But don't give up. And I support you and you should go back and climb. And when he said that, we were like, my God, that in itself is an experience. And yeah, why not? Let's go back. The mountain is still there. We are fit. Let's just make it happen.
Oh, actually, these are special moments that like some when you start working towards something like uh, if it needs to happen, it is obviously there are 100 things that comes up and make it happen. Yes, so I think we have completed our photo session, and I hope I made a little bit of justice for your journey. And
Thank you.
yes, so the next few questions we have. Um, so with regards to one second, sorry. Yes, so climbing, mountaineering is an expensive sports as you told, and like how do you find equipments and the right gears to choose? And for an expedition itself, it takes, for example, you told Everest 30 lakhs, and it is one of the high-paying expeditions in the world. And for climbing other mountains as such, you would have invested a lot of time, money, energy, and physical wise. No? So, can you just explain what all preparations that one got to do uh, before starting an expedition and making it success?
That is actually a very, very good question, Karthik. Because most people think, okay, if I have the money, I can go climb a mountain, and it's not so simple. There, I fundamentally say that there are three aspects of it. One is, of course, the physical will and desire to make it happen, and you say, okay, I'm committed to this. I want to make it happen. Whether it is going for a trek or whether it is to go and climb a mountain, it takes time. So you have to be patient about it. It's not like as if, okay, you work on a schedule saying that, okay, at 5 o'clock, I'm going to be on the mountain top and I'll take a selfie and I'll come back down and then I'll take my flight and go back home. Mountains and nature doesn't work on your schedule, you work on their schedule. So that is one. Two
Okay.
is the physical preparation. It may be your first time of going in the mountains, but there's no shortcut to that. You have to get up in the morning, you have to exercise, you have to follow a physical fitness plan. You have to eat the right food. You can't be boozing and smoking and say, okay, I'm going to go climb a mountain. They just don't go together. And the third thing is, especially with mountaineering, you do need to invest in the technical experience. Now, like you also done your mountaineering course. And as I mentioned earlier, we are very blessed in India. The mountains are
Yes.
literally a bus ride, a train ride, or a plane ride away.
Yes.
And the other thing is that in India, there are some of the best mountaineering schools in the world. Darjeeling has the Himalaya Mountaineering Institute. The first director was Tenzing Norgay, the first man to climb Everest. Uttarkashi in Uttarakhand has the Nehru Institute of Mountaineering, very prestigious institute. There's the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Institute of Mountaineering and Applied Sciences in Manali. There's the Jawaharlal Mountaineering Institute in Gulmarg. All these institutes have been established in the 1960s and 70s, and they have a lot of history. They have fantastic instructors, and you've been there, you've seen the kind
Yes,
of
yes.
equipment and training you get. And I definitely recommend it. That experience of learning how to walk on snow, how to climb, how to rock climb and rappel the correct way. Really, they are fantastic. I mean, there are people from abroad who travel to India just to be able to apply. I don't know whether you had any foreign students with you.
Yes, yes, yes. Obviously, we had few. They were so
Yeah,
interested and they came all the way to India. We were like surprised. Oh, was this that good? And people are coming from abroad to be a part
correct.
of this. Yes, yes. So,
Yeah,
so
and that's the
yes,
other
please
thing
go ahead.
about it, that they have really great equipment. So as you said, it is expensive to buy your equipment, but if you decide to rent it from any of these mountaineering institutes, they actually give you mountaineering equipment on rent at very affordable prices. They want to encourage their students, they want to encourage people to go to the mountains, and they want to encourage safe mountain climbing experiences. So from that perspective, I think these are things that should be kept in mind before looking at climbing a mountain.
Beautiful. Yes, perfect. Like 2 minutes. If people watch the video, they would get to know what exactly they got to do. And with regards to physical aspect, we spoke about training and stuff. And with regards to mental, how people are getting prepared to this hostile environment, and it's not uh, there is an experience to it. We can understand, but it's not that easy to start the journey, or if you be there, you feel like it's struggling and pain, right? So how mentally you get prepared?
That actually is a really, really interesting question. Um, and I'll probably relate it to your experience when you did your mountaineering course, right? Now, if
Yes,
you remember in your mountaineering course, you had to carry a rucksack of some 24, 25 kgs,
yes,
right? You literally walk like some 3 days. You had to wake up early in the morning for training. You had fallens, they made you run, climb. Your hands had blisters on it.
yes,
You had to sit through those lectures and you were half falling asleep. If you remember all that, that was also torture. But your focus was not on all of that. That was just a byproduct of the experience. Your motivation and drive for your mountaineering course was, boss, I want to get that A grade at the end of the
yes,
course, right?
yes,
And that also happens in mountaineering as well. You are subjecting yourself to that hostile environment, sub-zero temperatures, the dangers of every step. And it's not like you're trying to ignore it. You are aware of it. It is making you live each moment because you cannot afford to put one step incorrectly. It'll result in an accident. You could
yes,
fall. So you're aware of all that. But the thing that is motivating you or driving you is the possibility of holding a flag on top of the mountain and coming back safely. So I would say that, you know, from that perspective, the motivation and the drive is so strong and you feel so passionate about it that you're willing to endure all the other hardship that is taking place in the same time. And that's the same challenge that people are facing right now also, right? I mean, you're frustrated, you're in lockdown, you don't know what to do. Every day around you, you're hearing about a new case of somebody who's
yes.
sick. USA is reporting huge numbers, India is reporting even bigger numbers. So all these things are stress factors that are affecting you. But I think you shouldn't ignore it. I think it's important to be aware of it, but not make it the main focus of your life. I
Mm.
think, like you, for instance, during this entire lockdown, have done such a brilliant job of getting in touch with such amazing speakers, curating all this great sessions and showcasing it. This has driven you. So, yeah, I think those are just small examples of what we are all facing on a day-to-day basis.
Yes, so that's how you build your mental uh, like strength, is it?
Yeah, I think so. I
Yeah.
think the key is to figure out a goal, something that is
Mm.
really, really passionate, that drives you, that motivates you, and keep focusing on that. And all the other stuff, don't ignore it, but just know that that is not the main thing that you have to worry about.
Perfect. Okay. So let's go to another session right now. It's called the rapid fire. So
Okay,
I
wow.
hope, yeah, I hope you would smash this. So can we?
Yes, please,
Yes.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
One project that you wanted to do but you haven't done it still.
Oh, that's an easy question to answer. Amadablam. Amadablam is my
No.
dream mountain. So,
Yes.
Amadablam is this beautiful mountain in the Everest Valley. It is supposed to be one of the most technical mountains in the world. And that is my dream mountain. I want to climb that. I was hoping to climb it this October, but that's okay. The mountain is there, so
There.
maybe
Yeah.
next year.
Yes, we would want to see a picture of you standing on top of Ahmed Ablam next year.
Thank
Yes,
you.
we'll be waiting to watch it. And what's your unforgettable trip that you have done till date?
Okay, so there are lots.
Yes.
That's a brilliant part of my job. I get to visit all these beautiful places. For me, the two most, one or two. I
One.
think one. Okay, I think in India, let's be true to India. I think for me, the Great Lakes of Kashmir is definitely one of the most beautiful treks in the world. On the 18th of May 2018, I was lucky to stand on top of the world, and I thought nothing in my life could beat this experience. But exactly 2 months later, I led a group to the Great Lakes of Kashmir. And when I saw that first lake, no, Vishnu Sar, it was just so beautiful. I just sat down by that lake and I almost cried. It was just so beautiful. So, yeah, I would
That's
definitely
nice. It's an
say the Great Lakes of
emotional,
Kashmir.
unforgettable trip, I guess.
Definitely.
Right? Okay. Well, we feel like you aren't scared of things and you're climbing mountains, standing on roof of the world, walking, running in crevasses and all those. So what are you feared of?
Okay. So I'll be very honest with you. I'm scared that the lockdown is going to continue for another 1 year, and
Okay.
I will have to give up this really, really awesome job and try going back to the corporate world and doing a regular 9 to 5 desk job. I'm telling you, that scares me. There are nights where I wake up really stressed out, thinking I'll have to go and work in a corporate job again. I don't know whether I'll ever be able to do that, but that's my biggest fear. It
Fear.
really is very
Okay. It
scary.
won't happen. We, we will we will unite together and make this situation good. Hello.
Hi, Karthik. Sorry, I think
Yes.
video froze for a bit. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You hear me now?
Yes, clearly.
Okay. Who's your favorite sportsman?
Who's my favorite sportsman? Okay, that is actually also a good question. There's this athlete that I had the chance of meeting. His name is Jost. He's a young German mountaineer, and there's some fantastic videos that he's made on YouTube about his solo ascent of Ahmad Dablam. In fact, just this year I think, yeah, he attempted to do a winter solo expedition of
Oh,
Everest through the western route. He is really a fantastic athlete, and I do follow him a lot. I mean, I've been very lucky to meet him. Mountaineering is a very young field, so I've also had the rare opportunity to meet a gentleman called Peter Hillary. He is Sir Edmund Hillary's son, and he
okay.
himself is a really great mountaineer. So when we were climbing Everest in 2018, he was also leading a group. So literally got to sit at the table and have a cup of coffee with him. I mean, it's amazing. So yeah,
Yes,
I've been very, very lucky.
lot of people that inspire in the field of mountaineering in specific. a very, very tough sport, and it gives a different experience altogether. So yes,
Correct.
if not mountaineering, what you would have become? Not the corporate thing. Leave that corporate thing, and apart from mountaineering.
So I think if not mountaineering, probably some other adventure sport. I think
Okay.
it's important also to try diversifying a little bit. That way you keep your sanity. I'm also an advanced scuba diver, so I love
High
scuba
five.
diving as well.
High five. I'm a rescue diver.
Fantastic, yeah. So I love scuba diving. It's such an incredible experience. I'm also a horse rider as well. So I think if it wasn't mountaineering, it would probably be another adventure sport like scuba diving or horse riding. And I think, yeah, that's
Yes. So what's your favorite mountain apart from Ahmedabad?
Um, okay, so my favorite mountain apart from Amadablam would be a mountain called Island Peak. I
Yes,
know it's
near to
also
Everest.
based, yeah, near Everest. And for me personally, in the Indian Himalayas, it's a 7,000-meter peak called Nun. It's located very close to Kargil. It's this really, really tough mountain. And I personally tried climbing it, and we got stuck at the summit camp. I think it was about 6,500 meters, and we got stuck there for 3 days. So we were three mountaineers in one tent for 3 days, just waiting out the
Oh,
storm. After a while, we ran out of gas also, so we started like warming ice with our body and started drinking that. So yeah, so Nun is a mountain I need to go back and climb. But yeah, I would say Island Peak and Nun in India for sure.
sure, super. Okay, so I'll now tell you a word, and you got to explain it in a single line what it means to you. Okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
life.
Mountains.
Mountains.
Yeah, climbing mountains is life.
Okay. Uh, dreams.
Dreams, chance to go to Ahmedabad.
Okay. Adventure.
Adventure, honestly, I would say pulse. But
Okay.
yeah, so
That's a
feel the
good
pulse of
one.
adventure.
That's a good one. Success.
Success is, okay, that's tough. Success is being able to, well, live your passion. I think that is success.
Success.
If you get a
Failure.
chance to live your passion, then that is success.
Perfect. Failure.
Failure is giving up.
Yeah, super. Death.
Death is inevitable. It's going to happen.
Yes. Be it in the mountains or somewhere in life, everybody is going to come across. Super. So our rapid fire session is done. As we have come into the last section of our show, and what would you tell to people who are chasing their dreams? I think you can give an answer that can make people to do it.
Okay, so I think it takes a lot of courage to be able to do it, because it's easy to take the structured path, but the moment you decide to change your dreams, trust me, it's going to get even tougher. There's going to be a struggle. There are days where you're going to wake up and say that, is it worth it? You will have friends and family that say, no, you don't think it's going to happen. If it is God's will, it would have happened. It's only going to get tougher, to be
Okay.
very, very honest with you. But when you do make it happen, trust me, there's no better feeling in the world, whatever it may be, whether it is to make a lot of money, to climb a mountain, to establish your own company, to design your own app, to have your
Yes.
own webinar and talk show, whatever it is going to get tougher. But when you do happen, uh, it's going to be great. And I think along the way, you will get to meet some really incredible people. And those are those experiences, when you look back and you think about your life, those are the experiences that we will be talking about, talking to people like Peter Hillary, being buried in an avalanche, climbing on the
Yes.
mountain, standing on top of the world. You're not going to talk about sleeping and freezing the whole night or carrying a 30 kg rucksack. You're not going to be
Yeah.
talking about all that. So I think, yeah, I think it's worth it in the end. It gets tougher. Stay the course, follow your passion, follow your dream. And at the end, you will have an incredible life.
Yes, and in this question, I want to add this. Can I just tell three uh, characteristics that one got to possess so that they follow their dreams?
Okay, so I think the first thing is that you have to have a target or a goal, saying
Okay.
that okay, this is what I'm working towards. For me, in my case, I was very lucky. Reaching the top of Everest and coming back home safely was a very definable, tangible goal. So
Okay.
even if it didn't happen the first year, I went back. If it didn't happen the second year, you go back, right? So
Yes.
that is the first thing. The second thing I think is extremely important to build a support team. Whether it's a friend like Soraj, for example, whether it's your wife, whether it's your mother, whether it's your father, these people are so invested in your goal succeeding that they themselves will be there to pick you up when you fall down. I'll give you a really good example. I remember when I came back from Everest the second time, having failed, I was sitting with my mom and I was like, mom, I don't think I'll go back. I'm feeling really defeated and it's okay. I'll go back and start working in the corporate world. And my mom just smiled at me and she said, listen, Sam, when you were small and a baby and you were trying to learn how to walk, you would have fallen 1,000 times, 2,000 times. But look at you right now. You're not only walking, you're running. So when you were a baby and you could get up when you fell, what's stopping you now? You've only fallen twice. And I was like, wow, that's fantastic. And it took
Yes.
my mother to talk to me and encourage me and motivate me. And because, she's also trekked to Everest Base Camp, she herself enjoys this. She was part of my core support team. So I think the second thing that you need to do is you need to build a team of people that are as invested in you. And I think the third thing is don't be afraid to fail. You know,
Mm.
if you fail, it's okay. You learn from that experience. You will try it some way differently. But if you don't try at all, you've already failed.
Yes.
So I think these are the three important points that I have learned from my experiences. And I think if you're following a passion, if you stick to these three things, things will happen.
Happen. Yes, and you have proved it. It will happen for sure. Yes, a living example for these three qualities, I guess. So in order to rate your life from 1 to 10, with regards to satisfaction level, how much would you rate?
I think 10 on 10. Very often people ask you if you could go back in time and change any part of your life, what would it be? And
Yeah.
honestly, if I think about that question, if I go back, whether it is failing in Hindi when I was in school, struggling with maths, getting stuck in an avalanche,
I think South
uh,
Indians fail in Hindi. Yes, I also have the same.
true, I was doubly bad. No, I was failing in Hindi and I was failing in maths also.
Like, that's
But
not
yeah,
good at that point.
I would not change any of that. I think I've had a great life, successes and failures. It helps you grow as a person. And every single experience has been really, really first. I know this is like a Miss India wala answer, but I think it has been a great experience,
Yes.
and I don't have any regrets at all.
Perfect. So who do you want to thank for the journey that you have had till date? And you can take this opportunity to thank people who have helped you out in hard times.
Honestly, I think all the people who have been as invested in my life, I think every single person I've come in contact with. I'll give you a very small example, Karthik. When we were raising funds for Everest, uh, I got contributions from family and friends from all walks of life. I have a ninth standard biology teacher who got in touch with me after some 20, 22 years and contributed to
Oh,
my Everest expedition. And I haven't spoken to her at all. And she said, I believe in you. It's fantastic. Go climb that mountain. So, I don't know who all to thank. I mean, parents, wife, family, friends. my school teachers who taught
Teachers,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, I think every person whom you
Everybody,
come in
yes.
contact with gives you an opportunity to learn from that experience.
Yes, exactly. And you have been so sweet to me when I approached you. I think few years back I approached and I was like, I want to do something adventure with regards to adventure, and I stepped into adventure by seeing Everest and seeing you people around what were they doing exactly, and that's how I jumped into. You're so sweet, guiding me. These are the things we can do, and I didn't disturb you because I was going through this and understanding what to do, whether I wanted to do this or not, and all these aspects. So, thanks a lot for coming onto the show and sharing your story, and we could see a lot of wisdom in you. I personally feel you have been a different person before getting into mountains, and mountains have taught you a lot. And
So,
yes, and thanks a lot, Samir, for
thank
coming
you.
onto the
Thank you so
show.
much, Karthik. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm really looking forward to a chance to actually climb with you. It'll be fantastic to
Yes,
be able to climb a
sure.
mountain together.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm waiting for it. I'm also getting prepared, and most probably in next year, if you agree, I'll come along with you, and you can climb. I can't climb at the pace of you, or you might
Right.
be way far from me. So I'll try my best to cope up.
Yeah, it'll be brilliant. It'll be really, really good. I'm really looking forward to that opportunity.
Yes, yes, yes. I am waiting for it, and thanks a lot. And tell a hi to Saurav as well. It would be nice if he also comes into the show and shares his journey. I'll talk to him as well. And thanks for your time. I
My
think it's a
pleasure.
very, very valuable session. And if people have any doubts with regards to mountaineering,
Please,
they can ping Adventure Pulse, and they are there to help you out. And they are also
please,
make your dreams come true. They do a lot of expeditions in India and also in South Africa and a lot of mountains they do. Please do go to their page or website or Samir or Sauraj anywhere, and you can be guided, and thanks a lot.
my pleasure. Please, as I said, as you correctly said, even after the session, if people want to reach me personally, just Samir Patham is my name on Adventure Pulse, or even leave your questions on Adventure Pulse, social media on all platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It'll be my pleasure to answer any questions related to mountaineering. I love talking about the mountains. I love the mountains. And if I'm sitting here talking about it, it feels like the same thing.
Yes,
So, completely my
you
pleasure.
actually made us to go into the mountains, and I feel right now, oh, I got stuck in the avalanche. Oh no, now the Nepal earthquake. I was into a roller coaster ride, I would say. And thanks a lot. You are so sweet, and you lit up the show, I guess. Thank you.
Thank you, Karthik. Thank you. See
Yes.
you. Bye.
Bye bye.